So yes guys, we were discussing about the prototyping model, right? So what are the advantages we have discussed so far? What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages we are discussing, right? So it may lead to the implementing and repairing way. We have discussed this one. It may increase the complexity as the original plans something else, and it may go beyond the original plans. We were discussing the third disadvantage, which is incomplete application may cause application not to be used. Now, what is the meaning of this point? In this point, I'm just trying to say that if client is not satisfied, if my customer is not satisfied with my product, right? So I cannot build my product at right time in the market. I cannot build I cannot build my product at the right time in the market, right? So what this will cause, while customer is iterating us to all this process, some other customer already come into the market with the same idea, right? So after doing the hard work, after doing this customer, so after developing all this product, after the 5 iterations, say that after the 5 iteration our product is ready, but when we are in the third iteration, a new product is came into the market with the same functionalities. So and he is not aware about it, right? We are also not aware about it. So what we'll do after the fifth or sixth iteration, when we will deliver our customer, then he will get to know about it that the same product is already there in the market. So this may lead that our application can not be used, or application might not use in the market with the proper time, right? Okay. So next model is the incremental model. What is it? Is the combination of linear and the iterative model. Now, iterative model is the basically prototyping model is the example of iterative model, as I have said earlier. Now, what is the linear? Waterfall is the example of linear model, right? Waterfall is the example of linear model, and prototype is the example of iterative model. Let's move to its diagram also. Okay. So this is the incremental models. This is the incremental models logical view, or we can say that the diagram, right? So I guess you all are understanding what is the thing, what are the things. Requirement definition. First, we will like just take these steps as we have discussed, right? As we have discussed earlier. Like for example, just consider the first step as the requirement analysis step. Consider second step is the designing step. Fourth step is the implementation step. Fifth step is the verification step. Last one is the maintenance step. Okay, consider all these things. So what is this? As I have earlier said, that it is the combination of iterative and linear. It is the combination of iterative model and the linear model, right? How it is the example, how it is the combination, like consider that case where consider that case where first I will do the requirement analysis, right? First I will do the requirement analysis, then I will move to the second step. Now if there is any doubts, in the designer team, that what he will do, he will contact to the requirement team, he will contact to the management team, who will further discuss the doubts of the designers, right? And will again transfer the requirements to the designers team, so that they can build designs, right? So this is, we are iterating, right, until and unless we got the actual idea that what is to be done, right? So here we are iterating, right? So first is the linear, how it is the linear, how it is the example of linear, that first we will go one by one, to each and every step, and if I complete this step, I will not go back to the, if I decided the final plan, I will not go back, I will further move to this. Okay, so we have the architecture design. After designing the architecture, he will move forward to the implementation part. Designers will forward my design document. Designers will pass the design document to my implementation staff, and if there is any doubts, contact he will contact to the designers again. Like for example, if the documentation is not that much ready, if documentation is not that much clear, implementation staff will obviously contact with the architectural designers, right? So this is about the linear and the combination, how incremental model is a combination of the iterative and the linear one, right? So after the implementation staff got the actual product, what he will do, he will transfer that prototype model, or the he will transfer the prototype model or the actual model to the testing teams, Now what testing team will do, testing team will again pass the several test cases. If there are any test cases failed, if there is any test cases failed in our project, so what we will do, we will transfer that particular project again to the implementation staff. Now if there is any doubt again in the implementation staff, so what they will do, they will again transfer that product to the architecture design, and then designers, then process will again repeat. So after the testing phase, we have again the maintenance test or the validation test. So in the maintenance, just a minute. Right. So yes. So we have discussed this one also, right? The testing phase, we have discussed if there is any bugs in the in the project, so that project will be again transferred to the implementation staff. Then implementation staff will correct all those mistakes with the existing technology or the new technology. Then he will pass that particular project to the next again testing team. Then again testing team will pass several test cases. If there is not any bugs in our project, then what we will do, what they will do, they will transfer to the next next staff, basically, right? So what this staff will do, this staff will actually deploy this product to the in the working environment, right? In the working environment, or we can say that he will install our product. If I am developing a software, so I have to install it, right? So what the validation team will do, or what the maintenance team will do, they will install our product into the working environment of that particular thing, right? Of that particular client. So this is all about the incremental model. There is involvement of, this is the combination of both. This is the combination of both the linear and the iterative model, right? So this is about the incremental model. Now what are the advantages? The advantages is that the software will be generated quickly during the software life cycle. The software can be generated quickly during the software life cycle. It is very flexible. It is very flexible as and less expensive to change requirement. As why it is less expensive? It is less expensive because all those confusions are hand to hand cleared by the previous staff or the previous step, the staff involved in the previous step, right? That's why it is less expensive to change the requirement and the scope. So throughout the development stages, changes can be done. This is also the advantages. Like if I am following the waterfall model, I cannot be able to make changes in the throughout the development stages. With the help of incremental model, I can do this. I can do that. I can do various changes in any step. If I'm in any step that will not make any restrictions to me, so what I will do, I can make any changes, right, in each and every stages. Now what are the stages? These are the stages, right? Okay, so what are the disadvantages? Rectifying a particular rectifying a problem in one unit require correction in all the unit and consume a lot of time. So this is the basically disadvantages. So if I'm here, right, if I'm in the testing phase, so if there is any changes in this in my project, if there is any changes in my project, here, so he will pass this one. Then if the changes are critical, so he will again transfer to this step. He will again transfer my project to designers. Then if designers also don't get the project, so designers also contact with the project manager, right? Now project manager will what he will do, he will contact with the client. So all this process basically require a lot of time, because one change can make changes in all the previous steps. One change can make changes in all the previous steps, right? So this is one of the disadvantages. Total cost is higher than the waterfall model. If I compare the cost with the waterfall model, it is actually higher than that model, waterfall model. So the third one is need good planning and design. So as I have mentioned in the waterfall model, that low or the less experienced team can be able to do that. But here what is the requirement? That professionals are required, because there is the need of good planning, right? So if that's why just connect these 3 points with each other. There is the requirement of professional. So first I will first consider this point, right? So there is the need of good planning and design. So what how we will do the good planning? There is the requirement of professionals. Now if I want to make changes, if I want to hire professionals, then it will increase the cost. So again repeat that needs good planning and design. First, if I need good planning and design, I will need professionals. How I will need professional? If I need professional, I will hire all those professionals, which can increase my cost. Right. So just link these 3 points to each other. That will make easy for your understanding. Now third or next model is a spiral model. So spiral model, we have said that it is very similar to the incremental model. Means it is also a combination of linear as well as the iterative model, with more emphasis placed on risk analysis. इसके अंदर हमने सबसे ज्यादा ध्यान जिस पे दिया है वो दिया है रिस्क एनालिसिस पे. रिस्क एनालिसिस क्या होता है भी आगे चल के हम डिस्कस करते हैं. द स्पाइरल मॉडल हैज बेसिकली द 4 phases. इसके अंदर भी हमारे पास में 4 phases होते हैं. प्लान करेंगे, फिर उसके बाद में रिस्क एनालिसिस करेंगे. बेसिकली मैं वही रिस्क एनालिसिस का जो दूसरा टर्म हमने पहले इस्तेमाल किया था, जो कि था फीजिबिलिटी एनालिसिस. सो फीजिबिलिटी एनालिसिस के अंदर बेसिकली मैं जब डिटरमाइन कर रहा था कि मेरी ऑपरेशनल फीजिबिलिटी क्या होगी, मेरी इकोनॉमिक फीजिबिलिटी क्या होगी. जब हम फीजिबिलिटी स्टडी पढ़ रहे थे तो मैंने 4 तरीके की फीजिबिलिटी स्टडी के बारे में बात कर रहा था. टेक्निकल फीजिबिलिटी, इकोनॉमिक फीजिबिलिटी, ऑपरेशनल फीजिबिलिटी एंड लीगल फीजिबिलिटी. सो उनमें सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट मैंने बताया था ऑपरेशनल फीजिबिलिटी और इकोनॉमिक फीजिबिलिटी, राइट? सो इकोनॉमिक फीजिबिलिटी एंड operational feasibility comes under this requirement analysis. So the most focus, the very much focus is basically done in this the risk analysis. Now how we will do the risk analysis? By measuring the feasibility. Which kind of feasibility? By measuring the feasibility of economic feasibility or operational feasibility. ठीक है? तो अगर मेरे को रिस्क एनालिसिस करना है तो मुझे सबसे ज्यादा ध्यान रखना होगा किसका, ऑपरेशनल फिजिबिलिटी का और मेरी इकोनॉमिक फिजिबिलिटी का. नाउ another is the engineering and evaluation. So engineering and evaluation, in this point I have categorized the implementation phase, the testing phase, the maintenance phase in just one word: engineering and evaluation. Okay, so don't get confused here. So let me show you the example of spiral model. As I have already said that it is similar to incremental model. It basically involves the various cycles. So here is the example of iterativeness. First, as we know that this involves several quadrants, right? As I've already discussed that there is the four steps available in this one, right? So first, I don't think so that there is a requirement of explaining this one, because I already said theoretically, right? Because first we will identify the objectives, then we will perform risk analysis, then we will review and evaluate how we will basically just the developer will review and evaluate this one, right? The developer will review and evaluate that if there is any changes left. Okay, if there is not any changes left, he will transfer that document to the testing staff. Now testing staff will do again he will test my project with by passing various test cases. If there is any if there is any changes, or we can say that we have to iterate my model so that I can get the actual requirements. So I have already mentioned here that it is very similar to that incremental model. It basically involves several iterations of my project. Several iterations is there, right? Several iterations is there. We have to repeat these steps again and again until I have developed my project very user friendly. So this I have mentioned four phases. So I have written these four phases. All right. Engineering and evaluation. In engineering, I am developing my project, and in evaluation, I am testing my project, testing and deploying my project. Right. So let's move to the advantages and disadvantages of this. So advantages is that high amount of risk analysis here. Advantages: how high amount of risk analysis here, which avoids the risk अवॉइडेंस ऑफ रिस्क इज एनहेंस्ड. अवॉइड मतलब सीधी सी बात है कि यहाँ पे सबसे ज्यादा जो ध्यान दिया जाता है वो रिस्क एनालिसिस पे ध्यान दिया जाता है कि क्या मेरी आफ्टर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ माय प्रोजेक्ट की क्या प्रोजेक्ट मेरा मार्केट में रहेगा या नहीं रहेगा, क्या इसकी ऑपरेशनल फिजिबिलिटी होगी. ऑपरेशनल अब मैंने इकोनॉमिक फिजिबिलिटी के अंदर एक टर्म यूज में ली थी विच इज कैश CBA, कैश बेनिफिट एनालिसिस, राइट? Cost benefit analysis. I have used this term CBA, right? So in CBA, what we will do, we will make a table. On the left side, I will list down all those costs. On the right side, I will list down profit. If my profit is greater than the cost, so I will surely use that particular model, right? So high amount of focus is done on this thing, risk analysis. Good for large and mission critical projects. It is very good for the huge or complex projects, because there is not any critical chance that our project is make any mistakes. So if I take the example of current situation, that we know that COVID-19 is the very biggest pandemic currently. So if I am developing a project, which will take the sample, for example, just take the example, right? Which will take the sample of a person and will tell that whether this person is suffering from COVID or not. So this is basically the very critical project, right? Now, how is it is critical project? It is very critical project because, for example, just take this person is not having coronavirus, and our project detects that this person is positive. So there is not any uh, restrictions, we can say that, or we can say that there is not any problem of detecting a correct person, detecting a negative person as positive person. But just take example, if this is the negative, If this is the positive person, if this person is suffering from the coronavirus and our project detects that he is not suffering, so what he will do, he will just roam around here and there and will meet to several people and will infect all those guys, right? So this kinds of projects are the very critical projects, right? So this type of model is basically suitable for those kinds of project which is very critical in nature. Okay, so this is all about the spiral model. Let's move to the next advantages, that is strong approval and documentation control. Strong approval and documentation control. Now, what is the meaning of this thing? Strong approval means because there is the iterativeness in our system. So, so our project will. Excuse me, just a second. Yes. So, strong approval and documentation control means we will document only the important part only, right? So we will not document the every time, we will not document, right? So the main time which is required to document our project is the first time. So after the first time, we will just have to make changes, right? So there's the documentation control, that much time is not required, in each and every iterativeness, in each and every iteration. All right, so there is the strong approval, also approval, because we are iterating each and every process. So at last we will final reach will be the customer satisfaction only. Or we can say that when customers say okay to our product, so that is the kind of strong approval, right? So disadvantages, what are the disadvantages? It can be costly because time costly as well, and as well as the time costly, as well as the financially also it is very costly, right? So it can be costly during the development phase. Risk analysis require high specific expertise. So in order to do the risk analysis, we require also professionals. So now in order to hire professional, or obviously that our cost will increase. This product will not work for the smaller projects, like, because as I've already mentioned that it is very good for large and mission critical projects. So it is not very much suitable for the smaller project, right? Because if I iterate very much in the smaller projects, in the very smaller project, so smaller projects will also cost very high, and which is not we want to do, like, right? Smaller projects, we have to minimize our cost in a smaller project, right? So this is all about the spiral model. This is all about the spiral model. Now let's move to the rapid application development. So when I was taking the example, when I was explaining you that what is the meaning of development, what is the meaning of what is the meaning of software development life cycle? No, the life cycle models. What is the meaning of life cycle models? I have took there an example of rapid application development. Like if there is the requirement of client that he has to develop his software in the very minimum span of time. So we will basically use this. Now as you can see that first advantage is just this reduced development time. So when there is the requirement of uh, reduction in the development time, because it is a requirement of client, right? He has to build his software in a very short span of time. So when there is a requirement of this one, we will use this kind of model, rapid application development. So let me show you the diagram so that you can understand very much clearly. There you go. So basically each and every model involves the same steps, just the thing is what the execution plan is just different, right? So in this requirement planning we will negotiate with the customer what are the requirements of his. uh, After this I will use this iterativeness यूजर ध्यान दोगे कि यूजर डिजाइन के अंदर ही मैं इटरेटिव कर रहा हूँ, इटरेशंस कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज जस्ट कंसिडर कि मेरा जो कंस्ट्रक्शन से पहले वाला स्टेप होता है वो कौन सा होता है, डिजाइन वाला। तो अगर मैं डिजाइन वाले को ही बार बार इटरेट कर लूँ तो मेरे पास फाइनल डिजाइन जो आएंगे वो द लास्ट डिजाइन आएंगे और द परफेक्ट डिजाइन आएंगे, राइट। सो जस्ट कंसिडर दिस वन कि अगर जस्ट मैं इसके पहले वाले स्टेप को ही वापस इटरेट करते जाऊं तो डिजाइनर्स जो मेरे को बाद में डिजाइन देंगे डेवलपर्स को डिजाइन डॉक्यूमेंट की फॉर्म में, वो लास्ट डिजाइन होगा। और फिर जो एप्लीकेशन डेवलप करेंगे वो कोई प्रोटोटाइप एप्लीकेशन नहीं होगी, वो एक्चुअल एप्लीकेशन होगी, राइट। एंड देन दैट एक्चुअल एप्लीकेशन विल बी पास टू दिस वन cut over. Now what is the meaning of cut over? We can say that the steps of testing and the deployment comes here. All right, so in what rapid application development you have to you have to keep in mind that only the user design is iterating over and over. Okay, only the user design is iterating over and over, because if I have finalized my data flow diagram or the entity relationship diagram, if I pass my final design to the developer, so developer can make his project at one time, at one single use only, right? So this is all about the rapid application development. As I have already mentioned that there is not any further explanation for this kinds of models. So this can reduce time, this can increases the reusability of components, this can increase the reusability of components in the design form, right? Third is encourages customer feedback, where you will encourage in this user design only, right? In the user design only. So these are the advantages. So if we move to the disadvantages, what are the disadvantages? So requires highly skilled designers basically, right? Highly skilled designers are further, I first tell that there is the requirement of the highly skilled designers. Okay, highly dependence on the modeling skills. So as we have discussed already that we trade on what we trade on the user designs only, right? So there is the dependency of models. Now third one is depends on the strong team and individual performance for identifying business requirement. It depends also on the strong team. So a strong team, if there is the requirement of a strong team and the individual, so it will also increase the cost. So this is all about the rapid application development. When we will use this kind of development, when there is the requirement of development, when there is the requirement of reduction in the development time. So our next methodology. So there is these are all about the models, right? These are all about the models. Now next will be the methodologies. These basically both are the same. So let's move to the object oriented methodology or the approach. So object oriented approach basically we have already discussed, right? It involves abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism kind of things. So inheritance means the reusability of thing. If I have already have written my code in my one class, so what I will do, I will inherit that class in some other class. Okay, so this is all about the inheritance. And object oriented methodology means that our main focus is on data. That how can I secure my data very much. Okay, so let's move to our next topic. Now this one I would like to make sure you that you guys have to study this one, dynamic system development method, which is very important as per my exam perspective as well as for your knowledge also. So this one you will study, right? This point you will study. I will just explain the agile development model methodology, because this is just the framework of the agile. Okay, so if you got to know about the agile development, you will easily understand this one. Okay, so this is your homework. You can understand that. So this is all about you have to study this one. To yourself. Dynamic system development model. You can consider this as your homework, right? So let's move to a last topic of this chapter. The third chapter. So from the next session, we will start our further chapters, right? So the last topic of this chapter is the agile development methodology, and which is the very important one, right? So in agile development methodology, what is the requirement? The software is developed in incremental and rapid cycles. So we have already discussed that what is the meaning of incremental model and what is the meaning of rapid application development. So we have what we have do. We have just combined these two models. We have just combined these two models and build one another framework called the agile development methodology. So this is not a new tool in the market, because we are just combining the rapid application development model and the incremental model with each other. All right. So each release is thoroughly tested to ensure software quality is maintained. Each release means the each iteration, you can say that each iteration in our product is thoroughly tested. हर बार जितनी बार भी मैं iteration करूंगा, उस हर iteration को मैं test करूंगा thoroughly. Okay, so to ensure the software quality is maintained. Okay, so अगर मैं software quality को maintain करना है तो मेरे को bug free software create करना होगा, right? And it is used for the critical time application. Now what is the critical applications? I have already given the example to you. So if I show you the diagram, and let's wind up the session now. The diagram for agile development is just a minute. There you go. So agile development is basically involves, as I've said, that there is the combination of rapid application development model and the agile and the incremental model, right? So these are the development phases. Start just a minute. These are the development phases. And this is in the first step, we will initiate our product. We will initiate our product with what? We will get to know about the requirements, right? Define requirements or high level requirements. So requirement analysis process, as we have discussed in our previous models, that is the same thing. Now we will design. Then after determining the requirements, what we will do, we will first design, and then we will pass that design to the developer. Then we will pass that particular design to the developer, right? That design to the developer only. And then what developer will do, developer will add one functionality and then integrate it. Hand to hand, we will integrate and test it, right? Hand to hand. After developing one module, after developing one package, you can say that, just like package, or after developing one function in your for your project, hand to hand we will further integrate it to the another hand to hand we will further integrate it with another function. Okay, and after integrating it, we will test also. So this is all about the development phase. And what is the meaning of agile? Agile is just the combination of rapid application development and the incremental model. Okay, so all those steps which we have discussed in our previous models, all those steps are the same. Okay, testing step, deployment step, implementation step, all these steps are same, right? So this is all about the agile development. Let's move to its advantages and wind up the session. Okay, so if we move to the advantages, so these are the advantages: that customer satisfaction by rapid continuously delivery of useful software. हम हमारा सॉफ्टवेयर बहुत ही कम समय में बना सकते हैं और कस्टमर को दे सकते हैं विद वेरी बाय मेंटेनिंग द बेस्ट क्वालिटी. रेगुलर अडॉप्शन टू चेंजेस सर्कमस्टेंसेस. यहाँ पर बिकॉज हमने देखा कि काफी ज्यादा इटरेशंस हो रहे हैं हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर, तो विद द ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ दोज इटरेशन हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर जो करंट चेंजेस हैं उनको हम अडॉप्ट कर पा रहे हैं. ओके, फेस टू फेस conversation is the best form of communication with the client or the customer. Okay, so face to face conversation is very best form for solving our doubts. And if we move towards the disadvantages, so it is not suitable for the newbie programmers, because there is the requirement, as we have already mentioned, that there is the combination of both models. So first programmers have to work on those models individually, and then they will be further move to these models, right? Agile development methodology. Only senior programmer can capable of taking that kind of decisions required during the development process. So as we have already said that this is used for the critical applications, so professionals are required for decision making purpose, right? Okay. So it is difficult to access the effort required at the beginning of the software development cycle. It is difficult to access the effort required at the beginning of the software development life cycle. So as we know that the agile methodology consists of several iterations. So it is very difficult if an organization has followed this model. So it is very difficult to give motivation, right? To provide motivation to the it is very difficult to provide motivation to the employees of that particular organization that they are following the agile development methodology and you have to follow all these steps iteratively. So it is very difficult to access the effort required at the beginning of the software development lifecycle. So this is, we can consider this as an disadvantages. Now in the previous all those models, what is the best? Agile development methodology is the best, because we are building our software in the minimum span of time, and by maintaining its software quality. We are developing our software with minimum span of time and with the software quality, right? So this is all about the software development lifecycle models. Thank you guys for joining. If you have further doubts, please let me know. All right, so thank you so much for joining. Just a minute.